seems like a vital thing to you. I would see why you'd want to be able to ask somebody else something like that. That's, questions are necessary.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Councilman Lopez, yes, they are very vital to us. Again, like I said, especially the 24/7 on-call for nights, weekends, holidays, being able to call somebody if we have a situation. Hey, this is the situation I have. These are the, these are the parameters in which we're working. We need some advice. We give them the information, they provide us legal advice over the phone. And that's really the invaluable part of that right there.
And I saw where you have the training, which hopefully that takes place. There's some good stuff you see in what was here and what not, because like if there's not at least 3 people, they can cancel the training. So,
No, and
is there anybody else in the valley utilize this firm here?
Councilman Lopez, yes. Actually, Thatcher Police Department, Councilman Arvizo can attest to this. What they use there, I want to say, and Bill can get into the specifics, but they have 29 agencies throughout the state that utilize their services, police departments, I should say. And so, like I said, but no, when we host the training, one, we make it mandatory for our officers to attend so they can have the law and legal update. Obviously, sometimes people can't attend, so what we do is record it, and we actually require them to watch it. And part of that is we actually get training hours for our required in-service training every year.
Because they maintain the operational policies and the procedural manual. I don't know that existed either, because we had a crazy budget season on some of the stuff we were going through, so hopefully this will answer some of them questions.
Yes, sir, Councilman Lopez. So yeah, we do actually have an operational manual that is separate from the city, because obviously all the city workers don't need to be under the police department operational manual. Ours includes like things like use of force, pursuit driving, arrest, things like that. So that's why we have a separate operational manual.
Okay, we got a new chief in town, so. All right.
And just quick point.
Go ahead.
Councilman Lopez. Under the contract, if you look in your packet, there is a scope, and it's relatively detailed. It doesn't get super detailed into all the training, but I think there's some interesting things in here. Chief amongst them is that under age that they don't represent in litigation. So really, this is an internal advisory contract to keep the police department up to speed on different laws that are occurring, and then also provide training. So in that sense, this particular document, they're not providing legal services in like in a courtroom setting. It's more training oriented.
Call a doc.
Call a doc. There you go. Call a cop.
Call a doc.
And so there's a scope in there, and it lists quite a few provisions which you can embellish on, I think, when you make your presentation. But just again, so you understand that scope kind of defines a lot of the things that they provide under this contract.
And just to go a little further, they actually do work in conjunction with Bill Sams and Steve Coleman, so they work with our other attorneys as well.
Okay, Chief, you're getting the bang for your buck. I'm listening.
Yep, we definitely are.
Okay.
Chief Bryan, just to kind of roll a little bit off of Councilman Lopez's question to you, he said that he felt that he'd never seen this before. Is it something that was just always rolled into the budget? Is that why the council never had to approve this before?
My understanding, it's always been rolled into our professional services
The
budget.
professional services?
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't up in the budget, we just needed to look a little closer? Is that
Correct.
Okay. And so now you're bringing it to us because it's a contract, correct, John, that you want everything to be upfront and
That's correct, Mayor. And again, this is conversations I've had with the chief, and this particular contract is for professional services. It didn't necessarily need to be here, but the way we've been approaching things, and I've been working with the chief, we're trying to make it as transparent as we can. So yes, you will see some new things as we saw during the budget process. Hopefully we'll continue to see that, so it really is a transparency issue.
perfect. And I really do think that we're moving in that direction of more transparency, and I do appreciate that, and I do know that I believe Councilman Lopez echoes that as well, so. It's good to be transparent. We appreciate that. So, are we going to, do we need to approve this? Do we need to take action on this item? It is an action item. Okay.
Do we want to hear from him first, or are we just, I mean, I'm okay with approving it without, but if he
Yeah,
wants to speak.
I mean, Councilman Lopez, do you want to hear the presentation?
Well, it was an item on There was
It-
something.
it's under the work
there was
session
something
items.
Prepared to be said, so I was waiting. to
Mayor
hear that.
Counts, this particular item is an action item for a contract. There'll be a second item that is an
That's-
operational item.
Okay, so then let's go ahead and approve this item.
Correct.
All right. Could I entertain a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Edwards and Amato's contract for legal services provided to the police department by Edwards and Amato's PC Law Firm. Any other discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to item 13.3. Chief?
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce Bill Amato. He's with Edwards and Amato Law Firm. So again, going back to that, Safford Police Department has been using their services since 2009. Just to reiterate how valuable their services are to us. They provide legal advice on a number of legal issues, from patrol level all the way up to administrative level. They review policy and procedures and actually provide us with our operational manual, policy and procedure manual. Again, their consultation services are 24/7, 365 days a year. So they give us the annual law and legal updates. Bless you.
Thank you.
On operational things that are going to affect the police department as far as what's coming down from the lawmakers. So just a little, I'm not going to steal his thunder, but some of the brief history real quick. Bill's been an attorney for over 25 years. And he wanted me to let you know he's better looking and way more funnier than his counterpart, Eric Edwards. So with that, I will leave it to Bill.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Very briefly, I'll tell you a little bit about our law firm, both the partners and what we do for law enforcement. The law firm's been in existence now for 15 years. It started off as Edwards and Ginn. My business partner, Eric Edwards, had a previous partner to myself, Beverly Ginn. She's retired, I took over, and I've now been part of the firm for 5 years. What we do is we provide legal advice, legal counsel to law enforcement agencies. That is our one and only mission. We don't do injury accidents, we don't do domestic relations, we don't do anything but law enforcement. And the reason for that is because that's both of where we came from. Eric, my business partner, was a police officer at Phoenix PD for 27 years. 17 of those years, he was also their in-house legal advisor. In my previous life, was a prosecutor in Maricopa County for 15 years. I then went in-house to the Tempe Police Department as their legal advisor. When I left Tempe, I joined Eric. So what you have is you have two attorneys who specialize in this area of law, assisting law enforcement through whatever issues they may have. First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, use of force, pursuit driving, anything that relates to law enforcement, including, the technology that comes out. Axon, body-worn cameras, bowler wraps, grapplers, all of those things Eric and I are involved with because this is what we do for a living. And just to kind of tell you a little bit about what we do and why we do it, both of us did this job and retired to come back and start the firm because it's what we love to do. We both feel that this is our calling and that this is something that we can assist law enforcement in being the best that they can be. And so that is how our firm and what our firm mission is to assist law enforcement to be the best that they can be. To that extent, we provide a variety of services. As you heard from the chief, we're on call 24/7. My phone rings 2 o'clock in the morning, I pick it up. If I'm out of town, if I'm training, if I'm doing something like that, Eric has his phone and he picks it up. There's only 2 of us right now in the firm, but between the 2 of us, we do 24/7 response to law enforcement. Chief, down to line level officers can call us with any question they have. We also have drafted the Arizona Law Enforcement Policy Manual. That is a policy manual that about 45 different agencies in Arizona have adopted as their policy manual for the day-to-day operational issues that happen in a law enforcement agency. Why that is good is because it's drafted by lawyers in Arizona specific to Arizona law, so that we know that every time that manual gets updated, it is updated with the most recent and the most applicable law for law enforcement in Arizona. Chief and I were talking earlier today about possible accreditation. Our policy manual is cross-referenced to the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, which, if this agency decides to seek accreditation, will be a benefit to them as well. We do training, as the chief has told you. We have a catalog of training classes. There are currently 39 classes that we teach. Agencies have their choice of what they want to hear. We do police bias, we do implicit bias, We do use of force, we do search and seizure, we do Fifth Amendment, we do Sixth Amendment, a lot of training on First Amendment auditors. We have training on pursuit driving. We have training on for supervisors on how to review use of force, how to be a good supervisor. You name it, we have training classes that our client agencies have the ability to take advantage of and have us come in. Safford is one of our regular clients. As you've heard, we've been with that agency for many years and provided them lots of training. Typically, every year, one of our training classes will be the legal update. That is all of the cases from the Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit, the Arizona Supreme Court, and the Arizona Court of Appeals, plus all of the new legislation, because one of the things that law enforcement often has to deal with is a concept called qualified immunity. And what that means is that officers are presumed to know the law when they are enforcing it. So to that extent, it's very important for them to have these legal updates and be kept apprised of the most recent events that occur both at the legislative and at the case law level so that they understand what the rules are that they must abide by. So I'm a lawyer. I can talk for the rest of the night if you'd like me to, but I guess at this point I probably would open it up to any questions that you might have.
Counsel?
No, I know the asset, I know it's something needed, so, and you've been working with them, and you want to stay on board, they want you to stay on board, so I'm good with it so far.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you for cutting it short, because we know lawyers like to talk.
I don't get paid by the word, so I'm happy to keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I'm good, Chief.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Good, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move us on back. Sorry about the jump around, council. So we're gonna go on to item 7, new and old business. Item 7.1, the minutes. Matthew?
So this is a request for the mayor and city council to review and approve the June 26, 2023 city council meeting minutes.
I move we approve the June 26, 2023 minutes, please.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the June 26, 2023 council meeting minutes. And a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to item 7.2, feed my starving children. Mr. Casella?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This is a request for mayor and city council to approve use of contingency funds for $2,500 to provide a donation to Feed My Starving Children, a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization that provides nutritional support for children. If you recall, the city was approached by Dr. Bryce at the city council meeting held on June 12, 2023, requesting a donation to the charitable nonprofit organization Feed My Starving Children. This organization provides support for hungry children all over the world, including North America. And this is an item that council addressed last year and provided some approval for. As has been discussed in the previous session, members from the community, the region, and from outside the region gather to create meals that are then shipped where needed. The attraction of various individuals from within and outside our community stimulates the local economy as these individuals frequent local establishment. It also highlights and brings attention to our airport, which in turn may stimulate further activity for the facility. Staff is recommending approval, and again, it's predicated on the fact that it does bring in some folks that do frequent our establishments. They may stay in the hotels, even though the local group that it addresses is not. It's not addressing any local individuals. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you. And just, by the way, Dr. Bryce is here if you have specific questions regarding the program.
Okay. Dr. Brights, would you like to add or anything to this? Maybe you could give us a report on, maybe if you have people that are already signed up for it within our area?
Well, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, thank you. The signups for the event are actually just opened, and so if any of you would like the link, please let me know. Those of you who participated last year, I know that it was a big success. What we're asking for from the city is exactly the same thing that the city contributed last year, even though the event itself is going to be about 50% larger. Last year, we were able, as a community, or multiple communities in our area, come together, and we provided 108,000 meals for the starving children. This year, the plan is to increase that to a little over 160,000 meals. So therefore, the financial support required for that is greater. Rather than ask more of any one donor or set of donors, we have gone out and sought additional donors, and many who participated last year, based on their experience, came to me and said, hey, if you do this again next year, I'd love to participate. We're seeing that happen, and so we're looking forward to a great event. This will commemorate the National Day of Service as well, to remember those who fell on 9/11/2001. So this is part of the National Day of Service. It's also about bringing our communities together, and like Mr. Casella said, it's also a way of highlighting the airport. You know, we will have hundreds of volunteers, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 700 will be participating in this event. And this are from here, from around the state, and often we get people from outside the state who come, and of course the people from the organization are all from outside the state. This is a very worthwhile thing. It is supported. Feed My Starving Children was started in Minnesota many years ago. It is a non-denominational Christian nonprofit. My interest in it is the same as any of yours, and that is simply as a supporter and a contributor. We offer our facilities and shut down part of our operations for a day or two to be able to do that, which based on the data available on this organization and their effectiveness, I think is more than worth it. So I hope that you will be one of the many good supporters of this great project, and if you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Bryce?
Yeah, I do. So how did you become a part of this?
Yep. So the way it initially started is that there was an interest in doing something big in our community. Last year when I was here, I told you that there had not been a big community-based project to bring people from not only our valley, but the Morenci area, Duncan, and so on, to the area to have a community service project. And so the idea was raised locally, but there was some concern about being able to raise the funds. And so after my wife and I went down and we actually participated in a Feed My Starving Children event at their fixed facility down, I think it's on Mesa Drive.
Has joined the conference.
Go ahead.
And so we went down and did that. We were very impressed. I looked into their financials, I looked into their business, and they are all about the food. And so we came away from that event saying it would be worthwhile. So I simply volunteered to head up the donors. I'm a donor myself. Again, we provide our facility, of course, free of charge to the organization. So my involvement is the same as any donor, except that I offered to lead out collecting the donations, which are made directly to the organization. I make my donation the same way you do, and so my only interest is I think it's worthwhile, I think it's good for our community, and we try to support good things.
Dr. Bryce, is there any local children that get involved with this too, or how does this work?
In the sense of being able to participate or being
Yes.
fed?
Being
Oh, yeah.
fed or-
Well, so any child who's old enough to be able to wash their hands and keep their hands clean while they are participating are more than welcome and invited. We often see families, youth groups, and so forth that come and to participate. And we've had some come last year. It was a 2-day event last year. They came on the first day, they had so much fun, they found open spots the next day and came back as families to be able to participate again. If you haven't done it, you should do it. This is going to happen whether the city participates or not. But I'm not saying that I'm just saying it is so worthwhile that finding participants is not really an issue.
So, and also, Dr. Bryce has got a hold of me last year, and I really felt, because I totally agree with him in the sense of there hasn't been a community event that has been community event driven. And I felt that this was a way to bring communities together for the sole purpose of expanding in the sense of relationship, friendship, and at the same time doing a service to the people of the world. And the thing that kind of helped pull me in was the economic impact that it would have by bringing out-of-towners in. They're going to be impacting the hotels. They're going to be, eating as well or ordering pizzas or whatever that's going to be delivered out there. And so there is an economic impact for the community as a whole. I do agree with some of the questions that could arise. I would love to see some of these plates being set aside for our own local community and stuff, and maybe that's something we can look into, but as of right now, I'm 100% in favor of supporting this
Just a
event.
couple of comments on that. Number one, the meals are not often used in the United States because, quite honestly, in the United States, we're spoiled and Americans won't eat them.
Wow.
These are meant to be life-sustaining. These are not meant to be entertaining. These are not meant to be anything more than helping people who are genuinely facing food scarcity to be able to get through natural disasters or time of food uncertainty. So they are sometimes used in the United States, but most often not because they don't suit the American palate. Number two, again, I know the city has been wanting to promote the airport and to have reasons to get people there. We've tried air shows. We tried a race, I believe, in the last year, which you're aware of. And I can think of no event that would bring 600 to 800 volunteers to the airport over one weekend to do something so exceptionally worthwhile. So from an exposure standpoint, for the city to be able to feature the airport, I can think of no better way for people to see what's happening there and to share the interest in what's growing and happening out there.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions?
You ready for a motion?
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the donation to Feed My Starving Children of $2,500.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor,
Dr.
Council,
Price.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll sign up.
Absolutely. John, I'll ask for it on our agenda item, but I would like to, if I'm speaking out of context, please let me know. But I would like to see the impact for our local economy added into our,
Donations program?
yes. And this is me, because it helps broaden the spectrum. And so if I need to bring it back on the agenda item part, then I will, but if not.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, I would recommend that when we get to that item, that if council wishes, they can direct us to make an
Okay.
alteration to the application that would add a provision that said not just a local service population, but also economic stimulus.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
That could be one of the items we talked about.
down there, exactly. Okay, that brings us to item 8.1, contracts and agreements and bids for the substation bus and switchgear. Gabe?
Thanks, Mayor. This is a request for the mayor and city council to authorize a bid for the procurement of materials. This is for the substation bus and switchgear. This is actually for steel infrastructure that's required for that project. The bid award is proposed to be given to Alumen Elect Structures. Some of the background, if you guys remember, this project is for that 69 kV bus and switchgear system. Currently, right now, if we take down that system, it takes down the citywide power outage. This configuration will allow us to take a partial shutdown, allow us to continue to work on the infrastructure. I know we approached you guys before last year on several different items. We've already ordered the breaker, switch gears, and some of the hardware in the previous budget. This right here is for the steel infrastructure that's required around it, and we have taken the construction portion of this project to the public July 5th with an award date of August 10th. So we will be opening up that construction one here in the next given little bit. We did receive 4 bids on this one. You guys can see what they were. The lowest bid being a little over $101,000. We do have a budget right now of $2 million for this project, which includes part of that construction. So staff recommends that the mayor and council approve the procurement of materials in the amount of $101,037 to Alumen Electric Structures, and also recommends to allow the manager or his designee authority to execute change orders not to exceed 10% of the contracted value. With that, I'd stand for any questions you guys have.
Okay, you rounded it up a little bit.
Did I round it up a little bit?
Yeah. I was waiting for Councilman Lopez to catch that.
Oh, I took off, I added 3 cents to this, I did. I apologize for that. That's part of that 10% roundup here.
That's your little bonus in your pocket, huh? Gotcha. Entertain a motion.
So
Second?
Got a motion and a second to approve the substation bus and switchgear to Illuma Electric Structures for $101,3697. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. William. Brings us to item 9.1, Resolution 2319. Danielle?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and Council to adopt Resolution Number R23-019, a resolution adopting the PSPRS 457B Deferred Comp Plan. As of September 24th, 2022, Arizona state law updated its statutes to prohibit any member of the PSPRS from participating in the ASRS 457B Deferred Comp Plan. This means any public safety member that enrolled into the ASRS 457B Deferred Comp Plan prior to this date is allowed to continue in this plan grandfathered, but anyone hired post this date will not be able to participate in the ASRS 457B Deferred Comp Plan any longer and will have to enroll in the PSPRS 457B Deferred Comp Plan. The recommendation is that Resolution R23-019, a resolution adopting the PSPRS 457B Deferred Comp Plan, be approved to allow for public safety personnel to save additional retirement monies. And with that, I'll stand for any questions. I also have Clark Crowder on the line. He's our account manager from Nationwide, if you have any questions.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution R2319, the PSPRS 457 Plan Adoption. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is there anybody who got eliminated from, based on that law?
No, there's not. So we haven't had any new hires that this will affect, so it'll be any incomings.
So we're not affecting anybody at this point? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Lopez?
And some of the officers that go into the extended drop program, does it affect them any on this?
Councilman Lopez, as far as I know, it does not. They just, the catch is the hire date. So if they're hired before this date in 2022, nothing changes. They just stay in the ASRS plan. And then afterwards, if they're hired after that date, it's the PSPRS 457B plan. And Clark, if you're on the line and can hear us, you can pitch in as well.
Are you there, Clark?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Mayor and council members. Yes, this does not affect any of the drop or the extension drop. That's a totally separate tax code. This is just to be this would be put in place to allow any future public safety individual to participate in their supplemental retirement account.
Because I thought they could do their 5 one way, but they had to do their last 2 another way. So everything's good
Yeah,
to go that way. Everything's good.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council. The extension would be, that goes into a 401A account, not the 457.
Okay. Just making sure, because we move pieces and then it messes stuff up on the other end, so I just want to make sure we're clear. I'm good, Mayor.
Okay.
You're clear.
Councilman Hempfield, you still okay with the motion?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second by Councilman Anazola for Resolution R2319 PSPRS 457 Plan Adoption. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Mr. Herschel, would you read that in, please?
Resolution number R23-019, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, adopting a public safety retirement system 457B deferred compensation plan.
Okay. That brings us to item 9.2, changes to the purchasing limit for the mayor and the city council. Resolution R23-20. Keenan?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here seeking the approval of Resolution R23-020, amendment to the purchasing limits for the mayor and city council. Purpose, at the request of the city council, staff is seeking approval by the mayor and council amending the purchasing policy for purchases made by the mayor and city council as
Clark Crowder.
Left the conference.
as prescribed in Section 7 of the purchasing documents. As per council's request, we are seeking an increase in the spending limits, both individually and annually, for the mayor and city council. To give you some background, mayor and council, for purchases from the mayor and any member of the council, the accounting division of the finance department must keep separate, up-to-date records of all transactions, including the date, amounts, and nature of each transaction. The purchasing authority shall be responsible for ensuring that the cost of a single transaction made pursuant to the policy does not exceed the proposed new limits, and that the total of such transactions in any fiscal year with the mayor or each individual council member does not exceed the new recommended transaction limits. Any purchasing transactions with the mayor or a member of the council that exceeds these limits shall only be made in accordance with the public competitive solicitation process as outlined in the current purchasing procedures. The analysis, mayor and council, given the most recent inflationary trends, the current limits, which were set back in 2018, have not kept pace with current price increases. The recommended purchasing limits will be adjusted previously set to account for recent price increases. And we are recommending, the staff recommends that the limit for a single transaction be increased from $300 to $500, and that the annual limits be raised from $1,000 to $2,000. And if any council member or mayor needs something that exceeds the $2,000 amount, they can approach the city clerk, city manager for approval of those higher transaction amounts.
Entertain a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
And we have a second to approve the changes to the purchasing limits for the mayor and council, resolution 23-20. Any discussion?
I just wondering, is the daily limit enough? Because okay, like when we're getting ready to go to the League of Cities and Towns, and we transfer our room for about a week, it may hit that limit. We gonna be violating something if we use our card there?
I don't think you will be violating any of the limits, but at that time, as stated, if you will get in touch with the city clerk and or the city manager, we can make amends to get those limits increased immediately, or in the pre-planning process, get you the amounts that's needed so that you have a pleasant experience.
Well, then we still got time to talk about that, so we don't drop the ball on that one day when we clear house.
Correct.
And Mayor,
Go ahead.
Councilman Lopez, I believe, does the clerk generally book your rooms for you in advance, though?
The clerk lots of times did, and then when we checked out, we transferred it
You
to
have
our
to do it,
cards.
Oh, I got you, okay.
Yeah, that's true. I personally feel like it's a little bit low in some of those questionable areas. I realistically think that number could go up a little bit higher. I find it odd that I have to call my city manager to approve, especially when I'm executive board. I don't mean, you guys please, I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying it that way. I just find it very odd that we would have to call our city clerk or our city manager to approve us raising our threshold just a little bit for a day or two. So I really would like to see that number, and I don't know we could change that if Councilman Anazola would be okay with upping that limit a little bit, if we could still do this today, or if we need to bring it back.
Mayor, members of council, given the nature of the discussion, why don't we table it till a date certain, which would be the next meeting on the 14th? We can look at language that would be more detailed and allow for daily purchases of even a higher level, which you can recommend tonight, and we can bring that back. And then also put provisions in for travel and training where council would cover whatever costs were associated with travel and training using the appropriate P card. So then you wouldn't be locked into a number for your travel, because if you're going to Washington DC, it'll be different than it would be in Sedona. And that would give you an opening for travel, and we could specifically address that issue. And then if you'd like to see just daily purchases raised, tonight you can make a recommendation, and then we can kind of come back with the item on the 14th to give you a revised version of it.
Okay. Councilman Anazola, could I get you to remove your
Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my motion and request that this be tabled for the next meeting.
Okay, Councilman McGoy, is that okay? You seconded it.
That's fine.
Okay. And I just think the threshold should just be raised a little bit. Councilman Lopez brings up some good points and stuff, and I do like what, John, what you said as far as, you know, like, let's set us a bar here, but then for the travel, that gives us a little bit of cushion just for the travel areas. But our day-to-day functions should be at a threshold set. But when we do our travel, we have a threshold that we can buffer a little bit up and down.
Right, and we'll leave it more open-ended, Mayor, and because you never know what that's going to be.
Right.
And we can work in some language in terms of procedures for travel, because generally, your travel is gonna be set by federal guidelines in terms of your per diems, and then we wouldn't know. The hotel rates can vary depending on what's going on.
Okay.
So we'll work some language in specifically for travel. As it regards your daily limits and your annual, is there any recommendation that the council would like to make for me to bring back?
Councilman Lopez, what do you think? Would you like to see 800 and then change the annual limit up a little bit? I mean, none of us ever has, that I know of. I mean, we get the P card reports that have come close to some of this.
Mayor,
You have?
I've gone over, so that, I think I'm the reason why.
So
this
you're the
happened.
reason why
I'm the
this is here.
culprit, so.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it does need to be raised.
Okay. So let's kind of kick out a number so staff has that. I mean, we kind of, you know, left it open. Let's give them a number. That's
1,000 and 3,000.
I like the 1,000, but I'd go as far as to 5, but that's
Okay.
cool.
1,005.
So if everybody's okay with that,
I feel like I'm at an auction.
Yeah.
go ahead, Councilman McGoy.
If I turn in a motel bill for League of Cities and Towns, the daily limit, I mean, that bill, even if I pay that on one day, it's gonna have 4 different charges on there that are dated. Does that not satisfy the daily limit? I mean, I don't think we need a great big limit unless we can't separate those back out.
Mayor Couts, Councilman McGoy, it's hard to know exactly what it would be, but I think the logic behind what you're saying would hold, that there would be a daily charge. Do we need to get that far down? You know, that's up to the council. So-
We also have food on top of that, and I hate to write this big old speech on it. I mean, I feel like we've, except for Councilman Anazola, but, yeah, I'm just kidding. But I think if you guys are okay with it, just bring us that number back, and we can massage it then if Councilman McGoy wants to massage that number. So let's just shoot for 1,005. I just don't like the verbiage of having to call John and bother him and bother our city clerk for a raise of a limit, just because, I mean, I don't think we've had to before in the past, and I think that would be okay.
So
I
daily,
want the council to have some freedom in this.
so daily number would be,
800 to 1,000, that would cover your travel, or we could just say 800 and then have the verbiage of the travel.
well, here's what I would like to do. I'd like to have a daily number that is for, let's call it incidentals. You could have a per diem number, which would be separate from that, and that would be set by federal guidelines.
Okay.
And then you could have your travel, airfare, hotel be another item altogether. So we can stratify it.
Okay.
So that if you have discretionary spending on a daily basis, that would be a number that you would want to control as a council, which you feel is a good level. The others would be determined simply by federal guidelines, which are updated every year, and then whatever the reality is in terms of what you're dealing with hotels and travel. So we could do a three-tiered. So the
John,
first tier.
I think you got it right. I think you're gonna bring us back something
So
perfect.
do you want, say, 800 and then 3,000, 1,000, 3,000, 1,000, 3,000 for daily?
800, 3,000.
Okay. All right, we'll do that, and then we'll work on
And then you'll
having
do federal
explicit language
guidelines
on
for the
per
travel.
diem, and then hotels being something separate, whatever that number's gonna be.
Councilman Anizola, would that cover like the parade stuff that you
that would,
do?
yes.
An 800 threshold would be fine? Everybody else okay with that? Okay,
Good?
bring that to us.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So we're going to table that until, we need to make a date today?
A date certain would be the 14th is the next meeting, so let's bring it back on the 14th.
Okay, Councilman Anizola, that's okay?
Yes,
All right.
do I have to amend my motion, or?
I think we're pulled, I think we're good, are we?
Yeah, you already did.
Okay, all right.
All right. That brings us item 9.3, the disbursement of the city funds to charitable and nonprofit organizations, which is resolution 23-21. Mr. Casella,
Mr. Hosher will be
we're
bringing
presenting
this.
that one, sorry,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Holschel.
You're good. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Resolution R 23-021, the disbursement of city funds to charitable or nonprofit organizations. Staff is seeking mayor and city council approval of Resolution R 23-21 for the implementation of an application process that would provide donations to nonprofit and charitable organizations. Organizations can receive up to $5,000 per year. This is a pilot program, and with city or with council concurrence may become a part of the annual budget process starting with the FY25 budget cycle. Some background on this. During the FY24 budget process, the mayor and city council discussed providing an opportunity for nonprofit and charitable organizations to apply for city donations. Staff introduced the idea of creating an application process for these entities, since we currently do not have such a program. The mayor and city council approved $50,000 in FY 2024 for the nonprofit and charitable organizations to solicit funds through the suggested application process. Staff moved forward and created a process containing eligibility guidelines and an application form that would allow 501c organizations to apply for funding. Those materials were reviewed in a work session with City Council on June 26, 2023. Council agreed to move forward with the new program. In your packet, you have the application and the guidelines, as well as the resolution.
Mr. Oshak,
Go ahead.
should it say 501c3 for non-charitable?
Any,
Any 501c3?
I think that's what the intent.
So in council, our Mayor Councilman Anizola, in doing research, when we looked at 501c organizations, there were more organizations that we felt could fit underneath that umbrella. All 501cs are nonprofit charitable organizations. 501c3s are specific, as well as, I think 501, I don't want to say what they are exactly, but I know churches fall outside of 501c3s. But they're, everything that's a 501c fits under the umbrella of a nonprofit.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
What is the overall budget for that?
Mayor, Councilman McGoy, the overall budget was decided at $50,000 for this budget cycle.
You have one statement here, it says organizations who previously applied and received city funds in the current fiscal year don't need to resubmit their applications. Now, there's something in the questionnaire on some of the things that we were hoping to learn about the organizations, you know, like where, just exactly where the money's going, how's it benefit. There was some questions in there that I would think the citizens of Safford would like to have answered. And also, if they're changing the amount they're requesting, I would think they would want to kind of come forward with it. And also, we need to make room in this document for other agencies and nonprofits that kind of fall out of the framework here and how we involve them in some of our other stuff within the city. but I still think they ought to apply. It's a pilot program. They need to get their paperwork in.
Mayor, Councilman Lopez, when we reviewed, after the work session, when John and I reviewed the application, we found there was a lot of redundancy with the actual application and the idea of the application letter. In the application process, it asked for a letter which would describe what you're talking about. And so we felt there would be a lot of redundancy. It would be a lot of submitting the same thing through the letter and then also through the application. As far as, so to your point on other organizations that fall outside of that 501c category, this would be an opportunity for council to discuss what the mayor had brought up earlier in terms of economic stimulating, or stimulus programs, similar to the Feed My Starving Children.
Yes, exactly.
And Mayor
So-
Couts, just
Go
real
ahead.
quick, Councilman Lopez, just to address your concern about applying previously, that only addresses the IRS tax exempt certificate. So the reason being that once you've got it, we're assuming you have it, so again, to cut down on the paperwork, it's not that they don't have to reapply and provide the narrative and the justification, it's just the tax exempt certification. So number 3, you see the double asterisk there where it says, organizations that previously applied and received city funds in current fiscal year do not need to resubmit item 3. So just item 3. So they do need to resubmit.
So all of them will resubmit, they just don't have to, they don't
Correct.
have to supply the copy of the IRS tax exempt certificate.
Correct, it's just that certificate. So every year, when you apply, you have to apply and say, this is what we're going to do. That packet will be provided to council for your review before you ever get in the chamber, so everybody gets a chance to look at it. We'll give you a summary page, everybody that submitted and the amounts they requested. You get the backup, you'll see it all, and then you come in, probably have a work session on it first, and then we'll go from there.
And this is for everything, this is for our, everything that the city's going to start funding from here on out, right? This is like, Salsa Fest would have to apply for this?
Mayor Couts, what we would do is, anything that's currently in the budget that we adopted now, I would grandfather.
Into
Unless-
this?
Yes.
But they still have to apply?
No,
No.
unless council wants them to. Again, we're still setting the parameters in a way that makes council comfortable. My position would have been, anybody that is currently already in the budget, we could grandfather them. This opens the door for any additional nonprofits that want to apply. If you would like to have everyone reapply, we can, but for example, the Arizona Community Foundation is at $17,500. That would fall outside the parameters of the ceiling for this application.
So, go ahead. Mr.
If I can clarify, Mayor, so Salsa Fest is an event that falls under the category of planning and community development. So that's a separate thing that is a different budget item entirely. So what we're talking about for these would be nonprofit, similar to, so the Community Foundation does fall outside of that, but other nonprofits,
Boys and Girls Club,
Boys and Girls Club, United Way,
Safe House.
the Safe House, so any of those,
So basically, about, let's just say the 9 or 10 that we currently take care of, such as, parades and this and that and the other, and I think that budget.
Those are different.
Those are completely different.
Yeah, so the ones that would qualify here would be in your budget, which those events are now in community development.
Okay.
So you're looking at things like the Boys and Girls Club, you're looking at Safe House, Hispanic Heritage, and the Arizona Community Foundation, I
Okay.
think would be the 4 that currently would be considered donations.
Okay. So I would like to add the economic stimulus in this resolution. And if we can do that tonight, maybe my motion that I could make on the floor would be that we would approve resolution R23-21, but we have some verbiage in there that covers an economic stimulus. Would that be okay?
We can do that, yes. You can make an amendment to the application, and then we'll incorporate it in what we bring back.
Okay, so that would be my motion on the floor.
I would second that if you're making it now.
Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
I second that.
Any discussion, Councilman McCoy? Any discussion?
No, we capture the different things, even like feeding the children, we've captured that, so we're going good.
Okay. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. John, you'll bring us back the actual,
Yes.
Matt, would you go ahead and read that in with my amended resolution 2321, please?
I believe that, so the motion would be to add the amendment to the application itself, adding the economic stimulus in it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So resolution number R23-021, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Arizona, adopting and implementing a donations program in support of charitable nonprofit organizations, as well as adding economic stimulating activities.
Perfect. Everybody okay with that? Sounds good? Councilman McCoy?
We voted kind of on the amendment. Do we need to vote on the resolution that has amended?
Yes.
Okay, so I move that we do that.
Okay.
Second.
Yeah, we should vote on the amended resolution.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second to vote on the amended
Amended resolution.
resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. You good?
We're good.
Okay. That brings us to, thank you, Councilman McGoy for correction. Brings us to item 10-1, which is the P-card report. We good, Councilman Lopez?
Yes, sir, I had some that were clarified. Well, one of them was what we talked about with the payment going out to what the chief just got a new contract with on them lawyers, so that answered that, because I didn't know where that was going. I'd had a question about the protein and coffee shake shop. I didn't know what that was about, so I don't know if this is the time and you wanted to help explain that or not.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. That was for the final meeting and final payment for our small business support program that ended with the last fiscal year. So that was an award for Jerica Kempton for her new business.
And so that business got used, it got used well.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, sir.
We had lots of applicants and the monies went out and the reimbursements, and we may approach that program again.
Yes, sir. And Mayor and Council, Mr. Casella is also looking through low-interest loan programs and things of that nature to supplement as well.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. That's the
You good?
main one I had.
Okay, how about item 10-2, expenses over 500 report? How about item 10-3, revenues over 500?
Yeah,
We good?
good.
We're saying 100 instead of 1,000.
Okay, we're going to bring us to item 11, announcement of current events. Anybody have anything under current events?
Mayor, this is our first meeting, I think, since the new compensation plan rolled out, correct? Just wanted to say thanks again for everybody who participated in that exciting times. I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback about the changes.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Danielle?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I wanted to provide an update as far as the RHS termination. So the last update that you guys received, I had let you know that we had gotten our final recommendation from the tax attorneys on how to process those monies. And the next day, the communication went out to the employees and the retirees. We've received 10 responses back, and finance has processed those checks for those individuals, and so we're waiting on the other about 30 responses to come in, and they've got 2 to 3 weeks left to respond, and then we'll get the rest of those processed.
Perfect. Councilman Hempel, were you talking about the salaries?
Yeah, all of it, even the changes to the sick leave and just the entire compensation plan. Exciting to see it in place.
It is. I've had a couple of heartburns, people, but, you gotta,
Right.
think it's something that the organization is, you know, we jumped on it and we went. And so I appreciate the staff as well for working hard, and the council, you guys put a lot of time into it as well. So appreciate that. It brings us to item 12, which is request for future agenda items. Anybody have anything? I do. I would like to, I'd like to talk about something for our city employees. Our AMI guys, we're all aware of an incident that happened this last week, and I take very much value in our employees when they have to go into harm's way and quote-unquote take one for the team. So we need to, I know that we have a process for our police department when they're involved in a shooting or whatever. We have a process for the time off and their paid time off. And I believe we have something very small for our employees when they've been in a situation. And I'd like for us to kick it around and have something brought up. PTSD is a real thing. It really is, and I'd like to see that expanded. I believe Danielle's coming up to the thing. I don't know if I can talk too much about it because of the request for future items, but I'd like to have that on the agenda so that we could talk about what we have in place, and possibly, if the council's okay with it, expanding that employee's time off maybe a little bit more than just what I've heard of 3 days, okay?
Okay. Mayor and council, just so you're aware, I don't know that we necessarily have something in place for that exact type of situation, so I do feel like it needs addressed. Possibly added to the leave of absence policy, which is coming down the road for edits and updates, so I think that's a good place to throw that in there.
Perfect.
And as far as regarding the most recent situation, it's just what we feel is best. And then I wanted to add comments as far as sometimes these types of situations do lead to FMLA. So we just have to make sure that we're following all the regulations and make sure that we're getting that offered to the employees that experience these kind of things. So.
Okay, perfect. Would our next meeting give you enough time, Danielle, to bring something back, or do you need a little bit longer time?
I just need to run the new policy edits through the city manager and the management meeting, and then we should be good to go.
Okay. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
John, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Mayor, I have a question or something. John, is there any way, it doesn't involve you, Danielle, if we can get notified quickly on the situation like occurred last week, so we're not left out in the dark?
Sure.
I had people calling me and texting me, and, I was...
Mayor, Councilman Andazola, we have been working very hard, and the chief has been working very hard to provide information as rapidly as possible. I thought we got this one out pretty quick, but it is a focus for us. So yes is the short answer to your question. I try to get stuff out to you as soon as we possibly can. The chief and I have been working very closely on that, and so he got me as soon as he had enough to give me some information on what had occurred. We passed it along.
So I would echo a little bit on what Councilman Anazola has to say as well. I think I don't need I don't want the press release, because I think the press release gets us a little bit behind the 8 ball. Because by the time press release is already sent out, word around a small town, small city goes pretty quick. And I was laying in a hospital bed, and I actually got a phone call already from the news outlet wanting a comment. Well, I don't have a comment. I don't even know what the heck's going on. So I think just something quick, no names, just that we have road closure at such and such. We're inactive, whatever. And then I think if it's important enough to give it to your city manager, I think it's important enough to give it to your executive branch as well. And then you guys can do with it what you want, but I know that I did receive a call, and I was very shook up about it. And of course, I sent a text right away, and John, you got back to me right away as well.
Yep.
And so I appreciate that. But I would like for us to at least get just a little something kicked out a little quicker, just to the council and manager, just so that we could, we don't have to hear the talk on the town asking us about something that we know nothing about, because I don't have time to carry a scanner. I don't have time for that, you know. So, you have a comment on that?
Yes, Mayor. When we had brought up the media policy, we had addressed this, just to kind of rehash that. We're getting them out as soon as possible. We can work on something where we do, as what you called an executive notification, hey, we have a situation, future information will be coming. Is that kind of what your direction you're looking for?
Just something
Yeah,
really
something
simple. Yeah, we don't, no names. You don't, just an active whatever, homicide, whatever, just so we know, what's in real time. And I know that you're very busy, and maybe you could say, hey, I'm involved in this, and you set aside an officer or something to send out something to the executive. I mean, if you and your captain, maybe one of you guys can take a quick, 5-minute text break real quick and hit us all in a group text, and boom.
Okay.
I mean, we won't respond to that because we're not supposed to anyway, so.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, and I think we can work on that and get back to you
Yeah,
with
and
something
that's
just-
on me, because the chief has been hitting me really fast with this stuff, so if council wants something really quick, even if it's short and sweet,
Short and
I can
sweet.
get it out there, and, because the chief has been notifying me pretty much ASAP, as soon as he knows what's going on, I'll turn that around to you guys as fast as I can.
Perfect, short and sweet, and then we could wait for the press release afterwards for anything else that you feel that goes to the press release.
Okay.
But just to where at least when the press gives you a call, that Councilman Anazola could say, I've heard it, and I have no comment at this time until I get more information.
Okay.
For any of us that get that information, because we all do. I mean, we all get a text or a call.
Might also, it might give you a chance to have less urgency of getting your press release
Press release out.
out. Because, I mean, that one probably should have been proofread and before it went out, and, because there is no 1200 block of 12th Street, so.
Okay.
We need to keep in mind though too, that it's still possible, depending on where somebody is related to the event, that we could get a phone call from a citizen while the officers are still engaged. And we just need to realize that that's still possible.
Yeah.
It can happen before they've even got there. They're
Right, we
Yeah.
could, you
Staging
could get a
around the
call saying,
block.
hey, what's going on at such and such, and the police haven't even arrived.
Yeah.
So we just need to, we need to remember that.
Yeah.
And so mayor, members of council, again, usually these situations are fluid, but we can make it, the approach I've been taking is basically let's get something written and then we'll get it out to council. What I'm hearing is just let me know it happened as soon as you can. And then if these other incidences may occur and they may beat us to the punch, but then anyway, I guess. So, but we'll try to get this out as soon as possible. Get something short and sweet. It just says, hey, this event has occurred. We'll keep you up to date as soon as we get details.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't have to be just, police shootings, it could be, near and dear to my heart, opiates and, like if we have any, those kind of, just short, sweet, that way we don't have to worry about hearing it from Jane Doe. It's coming straight from you or captain or chief, and it's done and it's over with, and because we don't have everything in a row. We still shouldn't make a comment to the news outlet. We should wait for that to come out from the chief, but at least we are aware of that and we're not having to hear it second
Sure.
parties. Okay, thank you. Report on operation, anybody else on request for future agenda items? Report on operational items, neighborhood officer update. Jamie?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an operational update on our new neighborhood officer position that we initiated beginning July 1st of this year. So this is Andrew Bell. He is our new officer. He has been on staff for a couple of weeks and he is doing a great job. What are we accomplishing? The City of Stafford Municipal Code will be enforced in a systematic and fair manner. This is very important to me. Before we were working on a complaint-based system, and it was not systematic or fair. It depended on if someone complained about your property or not. Our system of enforcement will move from a complaint-based process to a more proactive process. Currently, Andrew is working the city on a grid so that every neighborhood will get the same attention from him. It will not be targeted. This will catch issues before they become a nuisance. Volunteers will be coordinated to help those who are not capable of cleaning their property. Neighborhoods will be improved, which helps foster a sense of pride in our community. Examples of code sections that are being enforced: Chapter 8.08 litter, Chapter 15.32 outdoor lighting code, and Chapter 17.82 sign regulations. Types of issues we will address will be weeds, illegal dumping, junk vehicles, lighting violations, and signage violations. Types of issues that we will not address are animal complaints, police matters or criminal complaints, aesthetic complaints that are not covered by our code, for example, paint color, and or HOA regulations or CC&Rs, which are covenants, conditions, and restrictions, and often those are on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis, and they are covered in the subdivision regulations in our private civil agreement. Current funding opportunities: an EPA Brownfields grant has been secured by SEGO, and the city may benefit from these funds. Updates will be given as that develops, and I've included the award announcement email from June 12, 2023, that the $500,000 EPA Brownfields Community Assessment Grant has been awarded, and we will be working with the other communities to see how to spread that money throughout the counties. Future funding opportunities: the department will work with the new grants coordinator to apply for federal and state rehabilitation dollars. These are available for homeowner rehabilitation and blight removal. With that, do you have any questions or comments?
The compliance officer, or whatever you want to, yeah, you call him an officer, a neighborhood officer, when he goes to a house for cleanup, walk me through what he does, or she does.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. So if it is routine enforcement or a complaint, the officer will arrive at the property and assess if there is a violation or not. Often complaints are of things that they're not covered, as we covered in what we will be enforcing, we will be not. They will attempt to contact the homeowner if they're home and just let them know there's an issue and share the section of code that it's violating. If they are not home, we have what I call the nice door hangers, and it's just a notice to say, hey, did you know that we regulate weeds and junk vehicles in the yard, and if you could give the officer a call during these hours, we'll be happy to work with you. We do generally give them 2 weeks after that date, and another visit is made. Generally, a case takes 3 to 6 months to actually be adjudicated if it goes that far. So we give them a in-person notice, a follow-up written notice, and then a certified mail notice to the property owner.
So we're at least giving them 2 shots before a certified letter that nobody likes to get.
Yes, sir. Our goal is voluntary compliance, and often people don't realize these issues are against our code. And so we're really working on the education piece for the community, and that's one of the tasks that Andrew has taken on. And he said, wow, I really didn't realize, he said, I don't pay attention. When you're from here and you drive by something all the time, you don't see it with the eyes of a visitor or the eyes of someone who would maybe want to visit here or move here. And you don't realize the things that we just take for granted and look over every day. And so, in his words, these issues are contagious one way or the other. A clean yard helps the neighbors want to clean theirs, and then a dirty yard makes the neighbors think, oh, well, it's I can do what I want. I can.
So in our information that we talk to them about, do we give them numbers of like SECAS or somebody to help clean up their yard if they need to? Do we offer a an overhead drop bin that maybe, hey, the city really wants to help you out. I mean, we're here. We'll drop a small little overhead and you fill that up. We'll dump it one time for you. Are we that friendly or no?
We are working on being that friendly. So
Okay, I'd really like for us to work on being that friendly.
Yes, that is one of our main goals. Andrew is working with organizations. He's reached out to CCAB, some local churches and volunteer organizations. Once EAC starts again, he'll be looking at sports teams and those kind of groups who do volunteer cleanups. So if you're disabled, elderly, can't afford a yard service, don't have a truck to get to the dump, any of those issues, we can work with the neighbors. So what we do not want to be is the lawn and garden club. What we do want to foster is a sense of pride and community.
Perfect.
And we will be also working with the Public Works Department to have some roll-offs in neighborhoods. So in case you don't have a truck, you can just take it down the street, put it in the roll-off, the city will take it. So those programs will be developed over the next year. And so we're being very gentle. And in a work session, we'll be approaching council with some of the things that we're looking at that are on the books. For instance, RV storage, that will take a little finesse to bring that into compliance because people will have to move their RVs, or if the council would like to change the ordinance, that's an option. So we're growing the program and we're being as community friendly as possible.
Jamie, are some of those options mentioned right away? Some of the of having volunteers or is it down the line before?
Currently, we haven't come across anyone that needs them, but Andrew has contacted CCAB and has spoken with them, and as soon as school starts again at EAC, he'll be speaking with them. And then, so we have some volunteers in the wings, but we haven't come across anybody who needed them yet.
Thanks.
John?
Well, there will be some people that won't take ownership of some of the stuff in the alleys. So we prepared ourselves to pick it up. That old engine block that you're not gonna see with all the grass, one of our emergency vehicles is gonna hit it in the middle of the night. So some of the stuff we're gonna pick up ourselves.
Lance might want to.
I don't want to.
Yeah,
yet.
they already do.
Okay.
So if we do see things in the alleys, we do approach the adjacent neighbors, but the comment is often, that's not mine, I don't know where it came from. We also do suffer from an enormous amount of illegal dumping. It may have been dropped in the night, and so Streets works on that. They actually, the head of the Streets Department is very quick on texting me new items that he's noticed in alleys so that they can get taken care of.
Councilman Lopez, we could go get a trailer, go out to the airport and pick up that new Bobcat piece of machinery that'll fit right down those alleys perfect.
I think you
And
got
pick up
something.
all that stuff and then deliver it back to them.
I think you have something, and we can use the electric department's little transformer fold-up thing.
Got
that
it.
can
We see, we've
lift
probably
stuff.
figured it out.
We got it, man.
Okay. All right, thanks,
So,
Jamie.
Mayor, I just wanted to say that the point of tonight's presentation was just to kind of let council know that we're gonna be approaching this programmatically. So there's gonna be a lot of layers to what we're going to be doing. Some of it will involve, day-to-day weeds, alleyways, that type stuff. But there will be a lot of layers to this. So we've already done things like graffiti. We've also addressed some of the pink box issues, which became more of a litter issue, and we got that cleaned up. So with the code enforcement officer, we're already looking at things like signage. We've made some changes even over at 70 and 20th Avenue, getting some of those berms down. We've got a lot of old signs on Highway 70. We're looking at monument signs. We'll be talking to the Parks and Rec Committee. So this is going to be a multi-layered thing that we want to dive into, see if there's federal funding for, home improvements and census tracts that are low mod, and things of that nature, and blight, where we may be able to remove old buildings and make those lots available for build again. So this will be a very large, multi-layered approach to code enforcement, which we will be bringing to you in a work session so that you can see the details of it and make sure that everything that we're doing is something that you would like us to be doing, because I can pretty much guarantee that it won't be long before the phone rings. And I really feel like part of what we want to do is kind of increase that aesthetic. I get a lot of phone calls now from council members to address individual issues. This hopefully will allow us to do it on a comprehensive level. So we will be bringing you more details as we move forward. So it's not going to be a surprise. We will give you some of those details. I just wanted you to understand that we just didn't hire a code enforcement officer. We're also working on a comprehensive plan of what this individual can do, which could include reaching out to volunteer organizations and so on.
Yeah, I probably would have just changed the name from officer to neighborhood compliance personnel.
We can work on that. We
Because
can come up with a friendlier name.
when I think of an officer, I think of those guys right there that gonna write me a ticket for doing something.
We'll come up with something more
Something,
euphemistic.
massage that a little
There you
bit,
go.
because that's the last thing we wanna do is get them in trouble with the homeowner, and then all that other crap happens, and so, you know, we just need to massage that a little bit. All right, thank you, I appreciate that. I can't wait to, I look forward to more engagement with that. Brings us to item 13.2, Citizen Police Academy. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor,
Or Captain,
Mayor and
sorry.
Council. I get to present
You're
this
a
to you
good-looking
tonight.
Brian, I guess, huh?
What's that?
You're good, Brian he went to that Barbie movie yesterday.
He made me do the homework here, so, which is good. I'm grateful for this opportunity to present to you about the Safford Police Citizens Academy. This is something that we did in 2015, I believe, was the last time we had this Citizens Police Academy. It was a positive experience then, and we're hoping that it will be again. So I just want to explain to you a little bit about what it is. The purpose of it is so that we can kind of foster a little bit better understanding between the police department and members of the community of what it is that we do at the police department. As we've talked about a little bit tonight, transparency is a huge thing, and when people understand what we do, they are quicker to be a little bit more supportive and understanding and support, I guess, when they know what it is. So this will give us an opportunity to address some topics to include intro to law enforcement, where it came from, body-worn cameras, narcotics, drug interdiction, firearm safety, firearms training simulator, live fire range shoot, traffic DUI investigations, criminal investigations, tasers, and use of force. It'll be an 8-week course that we're planning to hold on Thursday evenings from 6 o'clock in the evening to 8:30 in the evening. So we'll break it up into different sections, and I have some of the outline here, but we'll get different officers also to teach these. So it's also a way for us to introduce to the community members of our department. I was born and raised here, I grew up here, and I'm still one of those faces that people say, oh, you're one of the only ones I know at the police department. We're kind of rotating out a lot of the old and coming in with a lot of new officers. So this is a great way for us to introduce them to the public, to those members of the community that have been around forever and always felt like they had a personal connection to the police department. This is a great way to kind of bring that back a little bit. Our target audience, members that we would like to see ultimately, are members of the community that want to understand the function of law enforcement a little bit better, maybe have some questions, and hopefully we'd be able to answer them. People that are involved in leadership roles throughout the community so they can help spread that a little bit. Neighborhood watch members and members of the general public we would love to have. We're gonna slot 20 seats just basically for time purposes. We don't have a lot of time and we have a lot of information, so we want to get it across as much as we can. I'll just give you a little breakdown of what we want to cover. The first week we'll go through a welcome and introductions and give a little bit of an overview, and then we'll talk about media and law enforcement. It's a very, very hot topic and has been for years, and as you can see, the more transparent we are, the quicker we can get information out, the better it goes. We need a good working relationship with the media, and we'll talk about some ways that we do that and help people understand that. Police in the community. We cannot do our jobs effectively without the support of our community, which we do have, and we're very, very blessed in this community to be supported by the members of it. So we want to explain how that works, how we function better with community support, and what things we can do to maybe better it. Body cameras, they've been a great tool for us, and we would like to share kind of how they've been a great tool for us. Dispatch and communications, hopefully we can get a tour of our dispatch center and get to listen to some of the dispatchers explain things from their point of view. They have to be some pretty talented multitaskers, and we've got some good ones here that hopefully can participate in this. Then we move into a lot of the entertaining stuff that people have lots of questions about. So being born and raised here in the Valley, I had no idea about all of the things that happened here in our Valley as far as narcotics, search, seizure, criminal activity, interdiction, things like that. I didn't know that a lot of that happened here until I became a police officer. It's a great opportunity for us to educate the public that lives here about what actually happens and what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Moving forward, we'll get into firearm safety. We want to show them what we have, what we do, educate. Guns are a dangerous thing, so the more education that we can provide, the better off we're going to be. We would like to incorporate the firearms training system, which is a scenario-based system where actually we get to put a training weapon in their hand and put them in a room with screens all around and put them in a situation that may be a shoot, no shoot. And it's amazing to see different people's reaction when they get heat of the moment and have to make that decision. Not everybody makes the best decisions. You know, you get to make that split-second call, and so it gives a pretty good understanding of some of the things that we deal with. Following that, we would go ahead and go out to the range the next week and do a tour and show them where we train, the capabilities that we have, and actually allow a live fire range shoot if they are wanting to participate in that. Then we would get into traffic laws, stops and enforcement, DUI enforcement, and accident investigations, which is a whole nother animal all on its own. Criminal investigations, everybody has seen CSI and really doesn't know a whole lot, that a lot of that stuff doesn't exist. So in the course of my time as a police officer, I've been to different trials and things where people have a hard time convicting of a crime if there's no DNA, there's no fingerprints, there's not something that pops up on a computer immediately telling you who the suspect is. This is our way of educating the public. We're not always going to have that. You have to rely on other methods at times and bring it all together. So we get to educate jurors, possible jurors in our valley in this way, and help to have them understand a little bit more how things work. Our final week, we'll dive into use of force options and tactics that we have and less lethal options. And we'll also have a graduation ceremony and hopefully refreshments for them and provide them with the certificate of completion. So again, this is a huge thing, a huge opportunity for us to not only showcase the officers that we have and introduce them to the public, but just to continue to build that relationship and improve upon it. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Anybody have?
Like, I think I got to go to the last one, and it was quite a bit of good information. We got to see the differences in the body cam, what I actually saw, what the camera saw, how much light difference there could be in once you put them all together, and that's one thing I know the public's interested in.
Awesome, thank you.
I enjoyed it, so.
Anybody
Very
else?
good.
I appreciate that we're doing that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We're excited to do it.
Going to take a lot of work. You guys are up for it.
A lot of work.
Perfect.
Thank you, Cap. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Take a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion, we adjourn.
You're
Second.
not in the right chair.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?